In the summer of 2018, Mike Chi released the RetroTink 2X to the retro gaming community. It was a humble project, simplistic in design, and came sans a lot of the frills and configuration options found on the Goliath scalers, such as the FrameMeister and OSSC. For many people, all we really wanted was a plug-and-play solution to hook our retro consoles up to a modern TV and eliminate the lag associated in doing so. The RetroTink 2X provided that simple no-config solution. This was the blue-collar scaler, rugged but hardworking and reliable. Mike continued work on this project, adding new video modes and improving his creation via firmware updates. Today marks the next evolution of that little scaler that could. This is the RetroTink 2X Pro. And let's just get right into it here. Gone are the stock plexi plates, and incoming is a frosted, more traditional looking translucent case. I like this decision because it helps to produce a cool effect by diffusing the LED light on the PCB. The Pro is also larger than its older brother, measuring about 3 3/4 by 2.5 inches, and sits just under an inch high. You're also no doubt noticing the input and layout changes on this revision. I really like the component video and audio inputs are now laid out across the front of the device. This may seem subtle, but it's nice having the premium input option forward facing for anyone who is using this on a shelf. It's just a little less clunky than having to plug video in one way and then rotate or use the force while trying to switch audio cables. This does, however, push the S-video input to the left of the device, so if you typically use that input, this layout is honestly no better or worse for you. You're still rotating the device to get everything connected. And by now, the observant viewers out there are noticing that we are missing something: the composite input. This is probably most important to people like NES owners who haven't modified their consoles, and so this would seem to be a pretty glaring omission at first, right? Well, relax. Mike hasn't forgotten about composite. He has just implemented it in a more economical way. The green component jack on the front now doubles as your composite input. So all you need to do is plug your yellow cable into the green jack, tap the input button until you see the yellow LED on the PCB light, and you're golden. And speaking of the input button, that is another very welcome change. Previously, we had the input and filter buttons located on the inside of the PCB facing upwards. It wasn't a huge deal, but if you have large fingers, it could be a little clunky tapping them. The RetroTink 2X Pro now has each of these located on the rear of the device, facing outward, which makes them much easier to press. The Pro incorporates each of the input options of its predecessor automatically now, allowing you to cycle based on input. So for those of you in PAL land, the device now auto-detects PAL60 and other off-spec formats like PAL-M. This makes input cycling less frequent as you don't need to rotate through multiple options. You only have to be concerned about whether you're using composite, S-video, or component. If you're wondering, the Pro also remembers the input mode you last used after being shut off. So the next time you want to play and you power on, you're ready to go. It won't default back to the composite like the earlier models. To the right of your input selection, you have its partner in crime, the filter button. No real changes here. You have the standard 480p output, the smoothing option, and holy mother of God, one of the most requested features since the original RetroTink 2X was unveiled has arrived. Scan lines, motherfuckers. You wanted them, you got them. Now, as is the case with artificial scan lines on almost any other device, these are going to make your picture appear darker than normal. I really had to crank my TV's backlight and brightness to bring this back to a level that seemed more natural to me. I don't necessarily like the smoothing filter, and I'm not a big fan of artificial scan lines either, but from the sounds of it, a number of you are, so this is a big win for all you horizontal bar fans, and an awesome new feature for the Pro. Another change for the Pro is that you'll notice the new design has moved on from the mini HDMI connection to a standard-sized HDMI. This may be trivial, but I suspect many more people have spare HDMI cables laying around than they do minis, so I call this a win. The mini USB remains. That has not been changed to standard, but a newly welcome change for the RetroTink 2X Pro is that you will be able to update the firmware via this port. No more fooling around with buying a Picket 3, special cables, or mailing your device away. The Pro is now able to be upgraded fairly easily by the end user, like most other modern electronic devices. Finally, on the right side of the case, we have the mode and comb sliders. Mode simply places the device in either pass-through mode or line double, so most of you are going to want to leave that on the line double option. Then we have the comb filter, which can be set to either retro or auto. Mike tells me that the comb switch controls how composite video is filtered. The retro setting is optimized for older systems like the NES, while auto works better for VHS players and newer consoles that use 480i like PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. That's it for the physical stuff, but Mike has also shared with me that there are a number of what he calls under the hood improvements in terms of build and signal quality, but notes that the improved image quality isn't going to be overly noticeable due to how noisy most sources are that are fed to the RetroTink 2X Pro. So there you have it, guys, the latest iteration of the RetroTink 2X in all its pro glory. I've had about a month or so experimenting and playing with this, mostly with the Neo Geo and PC engine, and I can say that it continues the tradition of simplicity. It's truly a turn on and forget solution, which may be one of its greatest strengths in my opinion. I don't want to have to fool with configuring yet another thing. Just switch this on and enjoy a zero lag signal from my consoles on a modern television. Special thanks, of course, go out to Mike Chi for giving me a sneak peek at his latest creation and trusting me to keep quiet about it until today, which can be difficult for new stuff. I will update the video description when I have links from vendors who are selling the Pro, but I can tell you that it will retail for $129, while the original RetroTink 2X will continue to be sold for $85. Thank you so much for watching and checking out the Pro today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Later, guys.